What's up, everyone? I don't have the cool transitions that Tori does. Oh, am I lagging? Already? Think we're good. What's up, everybody? Tori, due to the fires, had a little bit of issue with smoke in his house and couldn't really live stream very well tonight. So I decided to just do a solo show tonight, just hang out. It's going to be kind of laid back, short one. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked them out already, Tori and I both dropped videos last night, mailbag and a trade talk video, and we appreciate you guys asking questions on those and giving trade ideas, so the videos are better for future times as well. Is my volume okay? I know I've had problems with that in the past, but I think I fixed it. Zacho, man, how you doing? Zacho had to evacuate, so I hope everything's okay, and I hope everyone out there is safe that lives on the West Coast area. Man, it's crazy. It's just surreal outside right now. Just doesn't seem like real life. But yeah, I hope everyone's safe and have a safe place to go tonight and all that. It's pretty scary stuff. Zacho, you good, man? Did you have a place to stay or anything? Yeah, Harden does not play well off the ball. That's why we said all along that it wasn't a good idea to trade for Westbrook. Should have just kept CP3 and tried to make that work, or traded him for someone else that fit in a little better than Westbrook. But yeah, that's crazy. Because now, like, CP3 probably has as much trade value as Westbrook, and they gave up a ton for him. The Lakers took a commanding 3-1 lead. Clippers have a commanding 3-1 lead. It's looking like all LA Western Conference Finals. And then in the other side, we got Boston and Toronto. That is going to be a great game. Game 6 was awesome. Celtics got kind of screwed by a non-foul call towards the end of regulation. And the last 2-minute report showed them missing a travel on Powell towards the end of the first overtime. But man, that game just had everything. Drama, big shot after big shot, just execution, stupid fouls. Like, yeah, it was just a great game. And those are two good teams, two well-coached teams. It's a really good series. I'm glad it went to 7. I don't really care who wins. I have a little bit of money on Boston making the Eastern Conference Finals that I placed earlier in the year when they had really good odds. So I'd be happy if they made it and I won some money. But I'm also kind of rooting for Toronto because I just really like what they did this year after losing Kawhi for nothing. And, just the way they play basketball, I love it. They fly around on defense. They have, unique plays and stuff like that. I like a lot of the guys like OG and Pascal Siakam, even though he struggled. So, yeah, I'm kind of rooting for Toronto, too, so I don't really care who wins that game. I'm just glad those two teams have a chance to put it all on the line in a Game 7. But it's crazy to think that one of those three teams, Miami, Boston, or Toronto, will be in the finals for sure. So it's crazy when the number one seed gets knocked out, how open it makes it for other teams. So they'll be battling one of the LA teams most likely. And then, so people hyped up Harden and Westbrook just working it out, like Trevin said. They're apparently like friends off the court, so they said they would get together and, they played together in OKC for a couple of years. But, if you have a guy that's that ball dominant like Harden, that's why it's not a good idea to get a guy like Westbrook who also thinks he's on that level and can do the same things, because he obviously can't, and it's basically going to cost him this series. What's up, Mike? Yo, AJ World. What's up, Vivek? What's up, Random Universe? Caleb, how you doing? Trevin. High Release. Russell Westbrook. Saw Travioli in here earlier. Chris Jesus, nice to see you in stream. Nailin. Nas, what's up, man? We can talk some draft here in a minute. Thomas Aransky, how you doing? Mike Posner, what's up? You got the same shirt. That's cool. Yeah, I got it from a Blazer game, so you must have gone to one of those games as well. Still haven't heard from Zacho. Hope you're okay, man. Mini Tooth, what's up? Portland Made, how you doing? Hope everyone's safe out there. Everyone have a good place to be tonight. What's up, Zexis? He says Thomas Satoransky is the best backup point guard in the league. In theory, he might be, but he really struggled looking at his shooting numbers this year. It kind of gave me pause on, because I've always been high on getting him as a backup. I thought that would be a good player to have, kind of a wing type that can handle the ball like he can, but his shooting numbers are really bad this year. Vivek wants to talk about Michael Porter Jr. Yeah, I don't mind a player thinking that way, but you can't say that in a press conference. It's a team game. And you don't see like Jamal Murray and Jokic blaming him when he messes up and stuff like that. So, yeah, you can't say that. Young person mistake, I guess. But I thought it was interesting. I saw a tweet from John Hollinger this morning that said, of course, his back injury played a major role in why he wasn't drafted higher than he was. But to put it gently, let's just say there were some other issues there too, the why he fell, and kind of insinuating that he is not the brightest guy and has some questionable beliefs and all that stuff. So yeah, guys like that are kind of weird. They always seem to can't seem to get out of their own way at times. But yeah, I don't know. I still hope Michael Porter Jr. turns out well. He's got a lot of talent and stuff like that. I'm not going to say he's as bad as, or like he's way worse than Danilo Gallinari, but yeah, he's definitely got a long way to go to be a good player in this league. Schroeder would be the perfect backup point guard. Yeah, it's really tough to get a guy like Schroeder, though. He's got 1 year left on his deal, so OKC doesn't necessarily need to cut salary, and we can't bring in like $15 million without sending out someone like Ariza. So is getting a backup point guard like Schroeder worth losing our starting small forward? And why would OKC do that anyway? Schroeder was like second in sixth man of the year, I believe, for voting. So yeah, Caleb, that's a good way to put it. So he's like Kyrie, just not nearly as good. Roll up to see what. Yeah, Travioli, I'm Hoops Jock on Call of Duty. If you want to play with Russell, first round exit Westbrook all the time. We have kind of a good combo going. Doesn't really translate into wins very much, but we have fun playing. I don't think Marco's here, but he just friended me on there, so I haven't had a chance to play with him, but it looks like he's pretty good based on his stats and stuff. Vivek says Portland has the worst air quality in the world. Is that true, like right now? I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. It's really bad right now. Nayland says he wonders if the Rockets might mix it up and trade some of their pieces. The problem with that is you can't really... They don't really have pieces to trade because they gave up Capella to get Covington. They gave up a pick to do so. They gave up a bunch of picks in the whatever trade that was, the Westbrook trade. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So if you trade guys, like the only two tradable contracts they have are Covington and PJ Tucker, but that's like all their defense right now. So if they trade those guys, they're kind of screwed depending on who they get back. But I don't see, even if you combine those guys and try to trade for a star, I don't really see that working out very well. So I don't know what the Rockets are going to do, but they're going to struggle as long as Westbrook's on that team. I don't know if you try to move him or if that's even possible or who would even want him. But if I was them, I'd probably take my chances with seeing if a team without him would be better. Got to scroll up and read what Kyle Wilson said. His uncle may be about to lose his house. He lives in Silverton. His house is in the path of one of the fires. He and his family have been evacuated, still in need of prayers. Yeah, man, that's horrible. I hope everything works out for them and everyone else that's in the path of these fires. It's just crazy that it's like, where do you go? They're all around us. Washington, Oregon, California all have multiple fires everywhere. Doesn't look like the smoke's going to go away through the weekend. I heard one of the fires near Clackamas, they just gave up trying to stop because it got so bad. But yeah, my heart goes out to everyone who's battling that right now. I'm lucky enough to be in an area where I'm not super close to any of the action. It's still like super smoky, but I consider myself very fortunate right now to live where I live. Zexus, yeah, for sure we do Ariza for Rocco, but I don't see why Houston would do that. Anime Jake, you live in Silverton too? Man, that's tough. That whole area is bad right now. The Blazers should trade for Westbrook, right? That'd be a disaster. Trevin's grandma lives between Lincoln City and Depot Bay. Another scary place. I just went to Lincoln City a couple weeks ago, so it's kind of weird that it's evacuated now. But yeah, I hope everyone's okay. What's up, Tori? Destrom's complaining about his viewership on his YouTube channel. Everyone go check out Destrom. Maybe ease back on the hot takes and you get some more. Just messing with you, Destrom. Tori's working right now. He found an N95, so he's chilling. That's good. Don't check out Destrom. I said Destrom's page, his YouTube page. Oh yeah, it's high release. It's not even Destrom. Yeah. Maybe that's your problem. Everyone knows it was Destrom, and then you tried to switch your name all up. Oh, wow. So Nas says his friend's grandpa fell asleep and he lived in Salem and had to run 7 miles across the highway. Jeez. Scary stuff, man. All right, I want to talk about Skip Bayless for a minute. This guy, I think he should be fired for his comments today. Depression is not something you mess around with. And if he truly had depression, like what he told Dame, because that's why he was making fun of him, because he had depression, which didn't make sense to begin with. Like, if he truly was depressed back then and that was the reason why he was talking crap about Dame, then you would understand what someone else who has depression is going through and you would be sympathetic towards it. But to say the comments he said today, so in case you missed it, like Chris Cheesis says he missed him. So Dak Prescott came out and said back at the beginning of COVID, he was really depressed and didn't want to work out. I believe his brother had just died, and his mom had a battle with cancer. I think that was last year or something. Sorry, I don't remember what happened with his mom when that was exactly. But he said he was depressed to the point where he didn't even want to work out, and it just really hit him hard during COVID, being isolated and trying to deal with that on top of everything else. And it's just, you don't make fun of people who come out and are willing to talk about like that. We should encourage people to talk about when they're emotionally bothered or when something bad's going on in their life. And instead, Skip used this time to say that if you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you can't talk about how you're depressed because you can't be a leader if you have emotional problems. And basically, like, he doesn't think Dak could ever get the locker room back after admitting that he had depression and stuff like that, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, that's just, I understand the hot takes he has sometimes, or if he wants to rile up Dame, all that kind of stuff. He looks like an idiot when he says that stuff, but like, at least it's, it's just like talking crap and fun. But like, to talk about someone's depression like that and to say oh, that makes him a horrible leader. Whatever, dude. Like, it actually makes him a way better leader that he's able to step up and talk about his problems and stuff instead of just hiding them, and then everyone like wondering like, oh man, how did he get through that? Because like, what's going on? I know his brother committed suicide, but he hasn't said anything about it. Like, is he okay or what? Like, no, man. Like, you need to be able to talk about those problems. You need to be able to like have teammates that you can depend on and be like, dude, guys, I need you right now. I know I'm your quarterback, but like, I'm not a robot. Like, I need someone to talk to and like to get through these problems and stuff like that. And it's really troublesome that we still have people here in 2020 that condone that kind of like, I don't know. It's just like, how could you say that's a bad thing to talk about your problems? It's not like he was doing something bad or like doing something that would ruin his football career or anything like that. It's like, the guy was struggling through life and he needed help, and to like crap on him while he's like coming out and trying to be like that. I mean, Dak's way more of a man than Skip will ever be, because you can't be a man for like talking that way about people who talk about their problems. Like, yeah, there's some people that talk about depression, or like Skip did this himself. He tried to use depression as an excuse for him being an idiot. And this is why at the time I said I don't want to say anything if he truly is depressed. Like, that's fine, but it didn't make sense that he was using depression as the reason why he was talking crap about Dame. So like, if you're going to use depression as an excuse when you mess up, and then when someone else talks about their depression, you say like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. He's the quarterback. He's the CEO of that team. He cannot do that. Like, no, screw off, man. You don't deserve a show. You don't deserve anyone paying attention to you. You should just be fired and never see a dime in media again, because that's just a horrible attitude. And I'll tell you this, guys. Anyone who's listening right now, or if you know anyone that's listening, if you ever need someone to talk to, my DMs on Twitter, my Discord messages are always open. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. I might not be able to respond right away if I'm at work or sleeping or whatever, but like, I'm always here for you guys. I'm sure Tori would say the same thing. But I just want you guys to know that, like, whatever you're going through, we should be here for each other and not talk crap about each other. Everyone deals with stuff differently. It's not anyone else's place to judge how those people deal with death in their family and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just hit me up if you ever need someone to talk to. I don't care what it's about. If you just need someone to listen to, vent, or whatever, I'm always available. So please reach out. I'd much rather have you guys talk to me than like do something else, because this is serious, and it's I want all you guys to make it through life, and I know how tough it is, especially since some of you are a lot younger, and I'll have to deal with some stuff here that you might not be prepared for. But yeah, hit me up anytime. I'm here for you guys. And screw Skip Bayless. And then, all right, let's move on to the Daniel House situation. So apparently, one of the COVID testers, he invited up to his room, but I don't know. He's kind of denying it, and then there was some weird thing on whether Tyson Chandler tried to take the blame for him so he wouldn't get in trouble, or if Daniel House is taking the blame for a more important teammate. But Daniel House is married with kids and stuff, so I wonder what's going to happen there. The NBA is apparently investigating, and then I hear all these people like, how dare the NBA say, or like, keep him out of these games if they don't know what happened. But like, we don't know what the NBA knows. Like, they could be investigating to make sure, but that it's possible they know a lot more than just, oh, a door closed in the middle of the night. So like, I'm just going to wait to find out what kind of evidence they do have. But even if it's circumstantial, like Caleb says, something happened with someone with the Houston Rockets, and it's looks like something. No one's denying that something happened, just who it was. But yeah, I mean, someone obviously has to pay the price for that. And if it wasn't House that did it, then I feel bad for him. But I don't think the NBA would just suspend him without actually having more than just his door closed in the middle of the night. You would think they would have to have more than that. So yeah, I'm not going to say that the NBA is wrong or right here until I get more information, because, I mean, this is what cheaters do. So I'm not saying he did cheat, but if he did cheat, he would, of course, lie about it and try to cover it up and then do everything he could to get out of it, both because he has a wife and because of the situation in the bubble where you couldn't do that, and he's risking his whole team's playoff life by doing something, by getting a little action on the side. So, yeah. It's hard to just say, like, believe someone who's just like, oh, no, that didn't happen. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're cheating on a spouse, it's not like you're going to come out and be like, oh, yeah, I totally had that girl in my room, and, yeah, sorry, hon. But, like, it doesn't always work out like Kobe and his wife at the time, where he just buys her, like, a $4 million ring, and he's forgiven. And then goes on to kind of change his life and all that stuff. Like I said, I hope that's not what happened with Daniel House, and I would feel really bad if he is just an innocent victim in all this, because he didn't get to play the last couple of games, and they could have used him in both games. But yeah, rough situation there for Houston. Yeah, Anime Jake, exactly. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, the Bill Clinton. Yeah, Harden giving up strippers for months just to get undone by one of his teammates, potentially cheating. Yeah, there were some rumors that possibly he was the one who she was coming to hook up with, but House took the fall for him. Once again, I feel really bad for House if his life is ruined over something Harden wouldn't admit to. But yeah, they're going to be out of the bubble probably next game anyway, so we'll see how that goes. Man, who do you guys think is going to win the Toronto-Boston game tomorrow? Vivek says Boston. Kyle Wilson says Boston. Westbrook says Boston. Emerson says Boston. Jeez. A lot of Boston. There, Chris says Raptors. Trevin's Boston. Yeah, obviously we had Game 7 in the first round with Denver and Utah. That was a pretty good series. But I feel like this series has been the best. But yeah, Toronto does have experience. Raptors nurse is going to get a pass again? What does that mean? You don't think Nurse is a good coach, Random? Emerson says, what do you think about the Nurse tactic? Are you talking about him standing near the sideline towards the end of that game? Yeah, I've said this a lot. Players, coaches, they should not be allowed anywhere near the court, especially with how much room there is on the sideline in these games. I watched the Lakers game tonight. LeBron, when he's on the bench, is freaking running on the court every time one of his teammates makes a shot. It's like, go freaking sit down and stay off the freaking court, dude. There's been times where they've run on the court and almost affected stuff that's happening. I wish they would enforce that rule about leaving the bench. And because CJ left the bench a few years ago in a preseason game, didn't even get in an altercation and got suspended for a game. Just kind of BS. But yeah, I wish everyone was required to stay back, especially in these times, and not be allowed to run and jump around on the sideline. The coaches should have to be either in their seat or in a marked off section on the bench, which I think is technically the rule, but it's not enforced. So, I just wish that they would condone some of that kind of stuff, because it really bothers me how often players are close to the sideline. I mean, not this season, but the season before, we had a situation where I don't know if you guys remember this, but Markieff Morris was pulling on the shorts of Seth Curry on the last play of a game in Portland and got away with it. It's like they shouldn't even be close enough to have that happen. And the rule should have the rule should have been changed to where that never even came close to happening again once that happened. But yeah, it does bother me that coaches are that close to the sideline. But hey, if you can get away with it like Nurse did, I mean, all the more power to you. It's still, he was wearing like a grayish suit or whatever outfit, so like it's not green, so Tatum still shouldn't have passed him the ball. But should the Blazers hire Billy Donovan? Hell no. I do not think the Blazers should hire Billy Donovan. He is a terrible coach. He thinks way too much of himself, obviously. I don't know if you heard that news today, but Billy Donovan, it came out that OKC actually offered him an extension and he turned it down, and then they mutually parted ways. So like when they said they mutually parted ways, I didn't really believe it, because usually that means that one person's fired, but they're just saying that to have like an amicable separation. But in this case, it looks like he turned down a contract offer, and then OKC was like, okay, well, if you don't want that, then screw you, leave. And but I do not want anyone coaching the Blazers that doesn't believe in double teaming, because this man, knowing that the way to stop Dame from the previous two playoffs was to trap Dame and take him out of the ball game, didn't even do that, and Dame went off against OKC and he wins the game. He wins the series, and then he barely did it against Houston this year. Cost him that series, probably not defending him or getting the ball out of his hands as well. But yeah, I don't want anyone like that. And this is Budenholzer's starting to turn out that way too. So Budenholzer the other day was quoted as saying something along the lines of like he doesn't want to change things up in the playoffs because it's worked all year and stuff. But that's the problem. You got to change things up in the playoffs. You have to tweak it, and you have to prepare. This is what Tori and I have been talking about since the very first episode we did together, is that you have to be prepared when it comes to the playoffs to change up your style. And if you haven't practiced it all year, what happens is like what happens in the Western Conference Finals for the Blazers last year. And that's where we finally get to a point where you have to try a different defense, because the drop coverage is the worst possible defense you can play on Steph Curry. But we're a step slow when we try to blitz him on the pick and roll or hedge and stuff. So they easily exploited a team that's that good and that smart. So yeah, like anyone who can't figure that out is not a good coach, in my opinion. That can't figure out that you need to be able to switch things up. And it's obvious when his style's not working, like the Blazers this year. When you go to averaging like 120 plus points in the bubble, being the number one scoring team in the bubble, and then you go to scoring, like barely being able to score 100 points in the playoffs, like you have to, at some point you have to realize that just going ISO and just running pick and rolls and stuff is easy to stop when a team sees it game after game after game in a series, and by the end of the series it's like, okay, like this is easy to stop and we can take them out of the lineup. And then you get comments like what Stott says about Nurk, like, well, they're taking him out of the pick and roll, what am I supposed to do? It's like, well, you're supposed to do something different with him. Oh, it's so frustrating. And that's what Budenholzer's doing. George Karl, in the same article that I read about Budenholzer, was quoted as saying that he would rather lose in the playoffs playing the way that got them there than to switch anything up and win the game. Are you kidding me, George Karl? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You would rather lose playing dumb than win, like trying something different and actually coaching? What the hell is the point of a coach if you don't try something new or do things? Like, that's so crazy to me that he would say that. And what's funny is Stotts got his start as an assistant coach under George Karl, so he came from that system. So yeah, he learned from the best, I guess, at not changing up the system and sticking to your stuff that doesn't get you over the top. But yeah, I'm starting to sour on Mike Budenholzer because of that. If he goes into next year, if they're saying his job is safe and he's going to be back. But if they go into next year, keep Giannis, and they go into the playoffs and do the same crap again next year, dude, that guy is a moron if he doesn't switch things up and try to fix it to where that offense can run a little smoother in the playoffs. Because a team like Miami, you got a coach like Spoelstra, he can stop. If you keep doing the same things and are predictable, he can stop that. And this is kind of like what Michael Porter Jr. was saying. So, like, I kind of get his like, why he was saying that. But at the same time, like, you can't say that out loud. You have to talk to your coaches and team about it. Like, that's what Dame's been saying all day. But you have to be able to change it up. And I was watching that game last night, and I actually was thinking the same thing. I think one of the commentators on the game actually said that too, is like, for some reason, whenever you go against a good defense like the Clippers, teams always struggle or whatever, and it's because they try to run the same thing and don't have enough ball movement and don't run around, all that kind of stuff. What did MPJ say? I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that the offense wasn't moving well and that Jokic and Maul, he called him Jamal Murray, were really good players, but they can't always do it all and can't always, like, sometimes they got to pass him the ball. But basically, he didn't see the ball much in the second half, and he wants the ball instead of them. But yeah. All right, you guys want to move on to the draft since Thomas Oransky is talking about it? What's up, Bruce Davis? If Nas is still in here, yeah, we can talk draft. So he says, as much as I love the wings in this draft, a small ball center like Precious or Isaiah Stewart, etc., would be nice to have to modernize the roster a little bit. I don't know about that. I think we still need as many wings as we can get. We still need to find our wing of the future, our small forward of the future. I don't know if having Trent there full time is really a great idea. I mean, it could work for a while, especially if we had Collins and Nurk up front. But overall, I think we need to find a true small forward of the future, whether that's Little developing or someone else. But we need to find someone who can take over for Ariza in a year or two, or allow us to trade Ariza for another position. So I still think wing is the most important position in this draft, whether it's a 3 or a 4. I think there are several 3s in this draft that are in our range. I'm not sure if my favorite ones are going to fall to us, but yeah, don't see Tori in the chat, Trevin. He was in here a few minutes ago. Dare you to time out, Tori. Yeah, Nas is definitely on the Precious train. If all the wings were gone, I guess I'd be okay taking Precious. I do not like Josh Green either, so I don't want him. But yeah, Sadiq Bey I think would be the ultimate Blazer pick. I would do just about anything to get him. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to go a little before a pick, although I've seen several mock drafts that have him falling to like the late teens, which I think is crazy. But yeah, Zexus says Poku. I kind of if it came down to Poku or Precious, I think I would just take a risk with Poku based on the upside. But I mean, Precious has a lot of upside, I guess, too. Sadiq Bey lacks athleticism. You don't necessarily need elite athleticism to be a good wing. I mean, Kawhi's not like the most athletic wing. Paul George isn't like super athletic. I mean, they're athletic, yeah, but they're not like crazy athletic. But yeah, I disagree on Bey. I think he's I think you can be athletic enough if a smart enough player and have good instincts. And I think Middleton's not super athletic. Well, I mean, you don't know what Sadiq Bey's combine stats would have been. But Sadiq Bey, I kind of think he's at this point of a career, a bigger, more polished version of Wesley Matthews. And we already have kind of a version of that in Gary Trent, who's developing into that. But I just really, really like the way he plays, his shooting ability. He can post up a little bit on smaller guards. He can play defense. He obviously came from a good system. And once again, we need guys who play within themselves and play their roles, because we have guys who can score and fill it up. But yeah, having a couple Wesley Matthews, like Trevin said, is not a bad thing. I mean, Wesley never blew by people. Trent doesn't really have elite like athleticism either, but he's super effective on the court. But yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, the problem is if any of those guys fall. Travis says we don't need to worry because Nas is our savior. Yeah, I still have high hopes for Nas. I'm really disappointed that he had the issues with fainting and stuff in the bubble. That felt like once Collins went down, he could have actually gotten a shot at playing a few minutes. But we need to clone Dame and run a 5 Dame small ball lineup. Well, he's about to have twins. I know one's a girl, but maybe she can make the NBA too. So you'd have 3 in like 20 years. Yeah, Westbrook says would rather have a player that plays within themselves than a player who thinks they are something they aren't, like Mario Hezonja. But I really think, I mean, this is going to be crazy because no one really knows until you actually see them play, and it takes a couple years in a lot of cases. But I feel like Sadiq Bey is this year's like Jimmy Butler, Chris Middleton type player. I feel like he's going to be just a really, really good wing, fringe all-star for like a lot of years in the NBA. And I love his game, and I think a lot of teams are going to be regretting passing him up. Is it weird that Dame got an all-NBA defensive second-team vote this year? Yes, it's very weird. I will say, as you saw in the bubble, when Dame is tasked with trying to defend, he usually takes up that challenge and is decent at it. But we also saw how that can be really tiring on our whole team when you have to play defense that way for multiple games over and over and over. Yeah, so Thomas Ransky says you kind of need a player with fire who will pop. Can't bring out a player's potential if their role is standing on the perimeter for catch and shoots. So this is what I was saying in a conversation on Discord earlier, is that, later Chris, have a good night, man. So people were talking about, man, if only we drafted Giannis instead of CJ, but you don't know what would have happened with Giannis. Like, did he have the drive to get better by himself in a gym? Maybe, probably. But I guarantee you he would have been treated like Nas this year as like a spot-up three-point shooter, and no matter what kind of effort he showed on defense, he wouldn't have gotten at as much experience or time on the court as he had in Milwaukee. And then you wonder if Stotts would have just had him spotting up for three, and then if he becomes like a 30 to 32% three-point shooter, and then they won't play him because he can't hit a three and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, you never know what would happen in a different system. But, yeah, you do need to find players like Gary Trent's this way. For everything I've heard, I know he tried to, like, backtrack on this a little bit during the bubble, but at one point in the season before it got shut down, he was saying that he took it upon himself to watch film and do a bunch of things and work hard and practice and all that kind of stuff. So you need guys like that, you know, are always in the gym, always like trying to watch film to get better. Dame has talked about this too, as like an off season or two ago, he talked about watching like every pick and roll he was ever in to try and learn how teams were guarding him and stuff like that. But yeah, what's up, Leo? How you doing, man? But yeah, it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. So like, are good players, are they good because they're good, or are they good because of their like coaching and or someone like Dame who gets in their ear or whatever? But that's why I'm not willing to write off Simons quite yet, because he's still super young and he's super inexperienced compared to someone like Luka, who's a similar age, but you know, had been playing overseas since he was like a mid-teenager. So, but yeah, the problem with moving up is I don't really know what we could give up that would warrant a team wanting to trade back. I mean, if one of the teams between like 13 and 15 were willing to take 16 and 46 to move back a couple spots, I would definitely take that, because I don't know if we have the roster spots for two draft picks if we want to do things like re-sign Melo and add other players that way. But yeah, it's really hard to warrant trading up to get a guy like Sadiq Bey. So if he doesn't fall to us, it's going to be really difficult to even make a trade. Yeah, we could also throw in some future picks as well, I guess. That's one of the things, if a trade ever does become available, like let's say Giannis comes available, I heard the other day that the Clippers were going to inquire on him. But they don't have anything to trade other than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So, like, how are they going to get Giannis? They don't have picks to trade or whatever. They gave up like 6 picks to get Paul George. So, but that is one good thing about not taking risks, is that we do still have all our future picks if the right risk becomes available to do. I just don't know if moving up a little bit in the draft to get someone is really worth it in this draft. Someone asked, what's up, Kyle Arroyo? He says, would you rather have Bey or Nesmith? I like both of them a lot. They are very high on my draft boards, but I think for this team, I'd rather have Bay. Some other teams, I would want a guy like Nesmith, but he projects as a similar type player to Gary Trent. Maybe not quite as good on defense, but lights out shooter like that. So you can never have enough shooting. So if Naismith fell to us and we got him, I'd be really happy. I just if I had to choose between the two, I would rather have Bay. Is Naismith healthy now? I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. Overall, Bay is a better player than Naismith. It's just that shooting over 50% on threes with shooting over 8 a game is just crazy. And shooting is something that can translate from college to NBA, especially like Naismith. They weren't all just like college threes. He shot deep ones too. So, yeah. If you're Stotts, you'll start Nas. Is that over Ariza, or what does that mean? Yeah, Nayland, I don't think there's any way Milwaukee would add a pick to that. I'm gonna do a video soon about a CJ for Middleton swap, but I'm guessing it would be us that would have to sweeten the pot. At worst, it would be, or at best for us, it would be an even swap. But I'm pretty sure we're the one that would have to give up a pick in that situation, not the other way around. So Nas says he ranks the wings: Okoro, Vassell, Bay, Williams, Naismith, Desmond Bane. I have Sadiq Bey, the highest out of those guys. Naismith 2, Okoro 3, and then probably Vassell 4, Patrick Williams 5. At least right now. It's so hard. Like, I hate not being able to see combine measurements. Eric Olson, what's up, man? We just we talked about that earlier in the show. And then Russell first round exit Westbrook says Maladon is number 5 on my big board. I actually have him right behind. I don't know how to screen capture like Tori does, but let's see here. Can I find it quickly? Maybe. I don't have my full rankings out yet, but I do have. So I have Sadiq Bey 7th on my rankings, Naismith 8, and Teo Maladon is number 9 on my big board. So not too far off from being 5th. Nas says Maladon is going mid-20s. I told you that's my hot take, is that he's going to be better than Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes is 10 on my board, Trevin. So I have Edwards, Wiseman, Toppin, Okongwu, Avdia, Halliburton, Bay, Naismith, Maladon, Hayes. And then probably LaMelo, Okoro, those guys. Killian Tilly's the top. The top Killian in the draft. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, he could be all right if he's healthy, but he's not going to be better than Killian Hayes. I know Nas is probably over there like, what the hell is that big board? But that is mine. Yeah, AJ World, we have the 46th pick in this draft. Um, I'm guessing the Blazers will trade that pick, even if it's just like for a future second. If they'll try to use it to move up or do something with it, throw it in another trade. But do I think any of Giannis's brothers have any untapped potential? Not the ones that are in the NBA so far. I mean, if they did, I think you would start to see some of that. But they're pretty much only on rosters because of their last name and not because of their skill set necessarily. So yeah. LaMelo Edwards. I'm just reading Nas's draft board goes LaMelo, Edwards, Toppin, Wiseman, Halliburton, Okongwu, Hayes, Avdia, Kira Lewis, Okoro, Vassell, Bay, Poku. That's a pretty good board. Obviously I disagree strongly on LaMelo. And yeah. But other than that, it's not too bad. Yeah, I have a feeling Trey Jones is going to sneak into the early 20s, especially with his brother being pretty good in the NBA too. I think he was hurt most, if not all, the bubble games, right? So, but Tyus had a good last couple of years in the NBA. Definitely a solid backup point guard. So I think that's going to help Trey Jones get drafted too, is the fact that his brother did well too. And I think he might be a little better than his brother maybe. Zexus thinks that Olshey will break up the backcourt. Yeah. I don't know. Unless a guy like Middleton is the guy coming back, I just don't see many trades that make sense for that. JW asked what our most realistic offseason move is. Honestly, if we're being completely realistic, I think it is to only make minimal moves and try to bring back a team similar to last year and hope they're healthier. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's what I want the Blazers to do by any stretch. I just think if we're saying what is the most realistic offseason, it would be basically just re-signing Whiteside and Melo, trying to find someone with the rest of the mid-level exception to fill a hole, and then running it back next year with the team. And yeah, that's boring, but I don't know. It might be the right move. It's hard to tell, but yeah. So Westbrook, I don't know what you don't understand about most realistic, not completely unrealistic. He says the most realistic move is trading for Giannis. Yeah, no, that's like probably the most unrealistic. Yeah, I could definitely see them reuniting with Harkless. So yeah, you have obviously Dame, CJ, Riza, Collins, and Nurk as your starting lineup, which I think would be pretty good, assuming Zach's healthy and Ariza plays somewhat similar to what he did for the Blazers last year. The 3-4-5 on defense in that starting lineup, and then if you had like Melo, Whiteside, Trent, Hood, if he's healthy, Harkless, maybe Simons if he improves. You got Little, re-sign Gabriel. I mean, that's a pretty deep, solid bench. I don't know what their high-end ceiling would be, but I mean, yeah, that's boring, but it's also, it might be the right thing to do. I don't know, depending on what other moves are out there. Yeah, Minu signed a 3-year deal with Orlando last offseason. His contract's a little spendy for what he's worth. And his D was not good in the playoffs last year. That's why they let him go. His perimeter defense had started declining the last couple of years as well. He's still a pretty good team defender, a decent rebounder for his size and all that stuff. But overall, I think it was time to move on from Aminu. But yeah, I don't know how we would get him anyway. Zachary's on Hood for Aldridge. And Trevin's trying to trigger me. Yeah, Middleton's I don't know if he's underrated, but people just expect everyone to be like a Harden or a Dame. Like, if you're not a great ISO scorer who like can shoot threes and take anyone off the dribble, like you're a trash player or something. It's either you're like a great player or you're trash. And Middleton is like really, really solid. He's a great 3-point shooter. He's a good defender. He's one of those guys, like I said, who plays within himself. Yeah, I almost said Westbrook as like that type of player who like tries to do everything. But anyways, I think Middleton would be a great fit next to Dame. And I think the difference in CJ and Middleton's defense would really transform this team. But yeah, I'll get more into detail on that in a video. Thomas Ramsey says he wouldn't sign Harkless if we kept Ariza. Yeah, I was just thinking more along the lines of just having some depth there in case Hood wasn't ready to come back. Ariza's kind of old. I just kind of like taking the pressure off of him. And then also Ariza or Harkless could play some small ball 4 in those lineups as well. Yeah. Nas is asking if he can write for the website. You have to ask Tori about that. I'm just a writer. I don't really know much about what's going on with the website. But yeah. It's going to be awesome, though. How much do I think Harkless would cost? Kind of depends on what's... It's hard to know what New York's going to do. If they want to keep him, they can obviously offer him more than any other team. So if they offer him in the 10 to 12 million, I don't know if he would pass that up because he is from New York and all that stuff. But yeah, probably going to be somewhere in the best case scenario would be about 5 to 6 million, like the tax mid-level exception, and worst case would be having to use the full mid-level exception on him. What's up, Alex Wolf? Hey, Alex, ask me the question you asked me on PlayStation. I didn't want to type out some long answer on that format. It was about the Cleveland Cavaliers, but I did want to answer your question. It's just really hard to type out a long response on there. I'd be super surprised. Like I said, unless a Middleton came available, sign and trade Melo to New York for Harkless. No, we can't sign and trade Melo, Russell Westbrook, because we don't have his bird rights or whatever. So we can only sign him basically to the minimum, and I don't think there's no reason for New York to do that because minimum contracts could be signed no matter if you're over the cap or not. But yeah, nice try. But yeah, I'd be super surprised if CJ was traded. I still don't think they're ready to give up on that experiment. Yeah, I'd be shocked if he was. I mean, I would like to, but yeah. I don't like the idea of Frank or Kevin Knox, Thomas Oransky, because I do like the idea of taking a chance on some young players that may not have gotten a good chance, but neither of those players are good shooters, and I feel like if I'm going to take a chance on someone, I'd rather, like in it, for Frank's case, I'd rather just play Simons and see if he develops over getting another point guard like him who still needs time to develop and stuff. And I know he's a good defender, I guess, but it's kind of like what we talk about with some of the CJ trades. Like for a Drew Holiday, you're just kind of changing your offensive strengths to defensive strengths and your defensive weaknesses to offensive weaknesses. So I'd rather just give those minutes to Simons and like keep Gabriel, keep Little, and give those guys minutes over Kevin Knox or whatever. Chris Zhang says, what about CJ? And the 16th pick for Otto Porter Jr. marketing and the 4th pick. Yeah, I don't know if either team does that. In this draft, at the 4th pick, it doesn't really make sense to trade CJ for that because unless Edwards falls, I don't really like a lot of shooting guards in this draft. There's some good like combo point guards, but I don't know if you'd have to trade up to 4 to get them. So, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Go back in time and draft KD. Yeah. Would be interesting to see if that would have prolonged Roy's career and not having as much pressure to carry the franchise. And even after Roy retired, seeing what KD and Aldridge could have done. Okay, so Alex Wolf asked me this on PlayStation. Who would you take at number 5 if you were the Cavs? Yeah, I would take... well, if Edwards is there, I take him. If Wiseman's there, I take him. If Abdia's there, I probably take him. But then it becomes between Toppin and Okongwu. The Cavs, I probably take Okongwu just because he's younger. But I like both of them long term on that team versus, they have Love and Drummond and some guys that they should probably get off their roster. Not sure if they're going to keep Tristan Thompson or if they'll let him go. Bring back Nick Stauskas. Yeah, no thanks, Anime Jake. But yeah, Kongwu would definitely be a good pick for the Cavs. I think, you drafted 2 guards in the last 2 drafts with Garland and Sexton. Garland had a really rough rookie year, but I still think he's got some skill. And going back to what Thomas Oransky was asking, there's a guy who had a down year who I would take a chance on if the Cavs were trying to give up on him. I doubt they would after 1 year, but you never know with how impatient teams get nowadays. But Kevin Porter Jr. also showed some flashes for them. He played really well with Sexton in the backcourt. So yeah, I would definitely draft a big. If either Kongwu or Toppin was on the board, I would take one of those guys. Or Wiseman if he fell. I think teams are crazy if they pass on Wiseman past 2. I don't know if Golden State will necessarily take Wiseman at 2. Now, first of all, like Nas has talked about, if Minnesota takes LaMelo, I just think that would be horrible, horrible, very bad. So yeah, I think Edwards is going to be a lot better than LaMelo, like a lot better, and I would take him. So yeah, if they take him and Edwards goes to Golden State, that kind of sucks for everyone else. But other than that happening, if Edwards goes 1 and Wiseman doesn't get picked by Golden State, I think Charlotte would be crazy not to take him. The Bulls don't necessarily need a center since they have Markkanen and Wendell Carter, but I feel like you could trade Markkanen and then roll with Wendell Carter and Wiseman as your front court of the future. And then you have Levine and Colby White from last year. So that's the makings of a pretty solid team. So I don't know. If Wiseman falls in this draft, I'm going to be really surprised. There's I don't know if you guys follow that. I think his name is Brendan or something on Twitter. He's a Cavs fan. And he absolutely does not want them to take a big man. He likes Okoro is his number 1 prospect on this board. And so he's hoping for Okoro. But yeah, I don't he just devalues big men. But I think Wiseman has the skills to be an elite big man moving forward. He's athletic, so he can play with small lineups, but he's big enough to play the center in against bigger centers too. But yeah, I would get a young big on that team if I was them over a wing. But I mean, if you see a wing that's going to be projected, because you do need wings to win in the NBA. It's kind of been proven over the last few years between LeBron, Kawhi, Pascal, those kind of guys. You need those guys to win. You need good two-way wings. So I don't necessarily blame them if they take a wing, but I would not pass up on Wiseman if he was there. Is Okoro a 2 or a 3? He's definitely a 3, I think. Yeah, he's probably the perfect size for a 3. He's a tough player. He's really good at defense. Just needs to figure out his shot, man. And it'll be really. This will be so we talked about kind of players developing on their own versus coaching. Check out what these draft picks do after being, because most of them haven't played since the beginning of March. So you've got to look at how these players come out of not practicing, not playing for 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 months by the time you get into camps and stuff after the draft. So it'll be really interesting to see players' work ethic, because it's possible a guy like Okoro, maybe he's developed a shot. Maybe he's done nothing but shoot 3-pointers for 7 straight months and hit 1,000 3-pointers a day. If I was one of those prospects like that, you're definitely going to be drafted, but you could wow people with your shooting if you just put in the time. And I mean, what else were you doing during the pandemic? So if I was one of those guys, I would have just worked on my weaknesses the entire time. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if any of those guys come back with a great shot that didn't have a good shot before, or the opposite of that, if they got really lazy and they come back overweight. It's obvious they haven't touched a basketball in months. That could start affecting draft stock. But I don't know how many workouts and stuff teams are going to do either. So, but yeah, that's like Zexus says, that's the reason why I do like a Sadiq Bey, is because I have a feeling that guy's been working his butt off during the offseason. I can't really say that much as a lot of those other players. Yeah, Griffin's shot has gotten a lot better since he came in the league. Wiseman, I don't think he's a bad shooter. He didn't shoot a lot. Let me look up his. I mean, he only played it 3 games in college, so it's hard to know. He didn't shoot any threes, but he shot almost 77% from the field. Yeah, it's hard to know. I do think that he could become a 3-point shooter, but yeah, his true shooting percentage was 76% in those 3 games. He was really dominant. He had a 52.7 per in those games too, which is crazy. But I don't really see. It's hard to project a lot of big draft trades, especially if Milwaukee doesn't end up trading Middleton or Giannis. I guess the big one could be they could trade for Chris Paul at the draft. That would probably be the biggest move. I could definitely see a lot of moves. A lot of teams taking that. But yeah, Alex says Warriors are crazy if they don't take Wiseman. I agree. I think he would be an absolute perfect big man for that system. And I also think that, with the coaching staff there and playing with those guys, he could be really good. Like we talked about earlier, the Rockets are going to have a tough time. They don't have a lot of assets to make trades, so even if they want to make a big splash, it's not like previous years. And this is what I was trying to say the other day. So they take a big risk, get Russell Westbrook, and then they take another risk, get Covington. They trade their big man. They take a super big risk by getting rid of all their big guys and going 6'6" and under and all that stuff. But this is why you don't take risks like that unless it's not a risk, if that makes sense. Like, if you're getting a guy like Giannis, that's not a risk. But making a trade just to make a risk doesn't make sense, because then if it doesn't work out, you're stuck like the Rockets, where they have absolutely no chance to get better. Like, they don't have assets to make in trades to get a star if they become available now. They don't have a lot of secondary pieces to trade for better pieces or guys that fit better. They basically only have the mid-level exception to add a big man that fits in their system a little better. So yeah, I wouldn't. So Poku is the perfect player in the Rocket system. Yeah, he would be a good fit in there, but they don't have a draft pick, do they? So, and Gordon's played well in the playoffs, but they just signed him to a really bad extension. It's way overpriced for him, both injury-wise, because he's very injury-prone, and at this point of his career, what he gives you. So I don't see a lot of teams taking on Gordon's contract either. I don't think they'll give up on... Why did you delete that, Westbrook? What the heck, Westbrook? Why are you hiding people? You accidentally do it again, jerk. Sorry, Zexus. I don't know why he's hiding you. But Westbrook, have a good night after you just ban people and then leave. Jeez. Dropped your phone. Jeez. I think Westbrook needs his mod privileges taken away. A guy banning people 2 streams in a row accidentally. God. Poor Thomas Oransky last stream. Chris Sang says Bucks should have kept Malcolm Brogdon. Yep. He was a great fit. I love Brogdon's game. Yeah, that's a guy who I wouldn't mind getting. The Blazers probably cost a lot, but But yeah, I would have Brogdon cost a lot, but I would have traded Bledsoe or someone like that and tried to keep him. Zexis, I'm sorry, man. My mod accidentally hid you for some reason. The Wolves should trade the number 1 pick for a haul from New York. Yeah, it'd have to be a pretty good haul for me to do that trade. What did they have? The 8th pick or something? So it would have to be like 8 and a couple of their future first and maybe one of the Dallas future first or something. But yeah, Grizzlies should trade up. Their pick went to Boston, the number 14 pick, so I don't know how they're going to trade up. Why didn't we get Brogdon? Yeah, we didn't have the cap space to sign him, and it was a sign and trade, but we didn't really have a lot of things to trade that Milwaukee would have wanted. Yeah, they have a Clippers pick, but I don't think that's that valuable. Yeah, I think Grizzlies are going to play it somewhat safe. They have guys like Justice Winslow, Jaren Jackson Jr., Tyus Jones, who were all hurt during the bubble. They never had a chance to see what they got. I thought they made a massive mistake taking on Dion Waiters' contract and then waiving him. I didn't like that trade at all. I know they had to trade Iguodala, but I just thought, I mean, you guys that were with us at the time saw our live streams. Like, there was no way Miami should have gotten away with giving up all those contracts without giving up picks or an asset to do more. But yeah, Winslow to me shouldn't have had as much trade value as Miami got from him. Justice Winslow is not necessarily super good. He is okay if he is the ball dominant point guard, kind of point forward type. But he is not a good player off the ball, or if you have a ball dominant point guard already, like John Morant is, or like Miami this year. He would have made Miami worse if he played this year, I think, because he doesn't fit with all the guys they have. Like a Dragic and a Kendrick Nunn and a Jimmy Butler. Like, he's a horrible fit with those guys. He's a horrible fit with John Morant. But he's not good enough to be like the lead guy in a team either. So yeah, I don't agree that he is super good. Hey, welcome back, Zexus. He says the lightning just happened near him. People on ESPN were saying Eric Bledsoe was really overpaid the other day. Yeah, I don't like those long-term contracts for guys like that that are in like the $15, $16 million range. So yeah, I wouldn't want a contract or a guy like that on our team. But Merited, if he wanted to come back, that might not be a bad play. Never know how he is now after being overseas for, by the time the next season starts, it'll be almost 2 years instead of 1 year. Nurk still has a couple years left on his deal, so no reason to extend him. But yeah, I mean, Bledsoe, didn't he make one of the all-defensive teams this year? I think he's a decent guard. I just don't know if he's the right fit with Giannis, who is already a guy who can't really shoot that well. What's up, Shervin? How you doing tonight, man? Hill, Bledsoe, and a pick is nowhere near enough. They'd have to include either Brooke Lopez or like Ilyasova and maybe one other, like a DJ Wilson. I think Thomas Oransky figured all that out the other day. But I don't know if they can trade West. I think he has a player option. I'm assuming if they make several trades, if they get Chris Paul and they have Paul, Middleton, and Giannis still, I'm guessing he'll accept it, but I don't think he would accept it if it was meaning he was going to get traded to a team like OKC or something. But yeah, they have to get to like 33 million, I think they have to get to in contracts. And Thomas Oransky and I have talked about this a lot on Discord. A guy like Ilyasova, he makes $7 million, which would fit into our trade exception. So maybe if OKC does do a trade with them, you call him up and say, hey, we'll take him for free if you don't want him for that salary, that part of your team. Maybe give up like a second round pick. But yeah, I wouldn't mind Ilyasova off the bench. Obviously, if we bring back Melo, we don't need Ilyasova and Melo. I think that's kind of redundant, but I think the Bucks would probably have to include at least 2 first-round picks in that. So, like, their pick this year and probably, like, I think they can trade, like, a 2022 first-round pick or something. So, yeah, something like that. Yeah. Chris Zhang says, I'm not sure if we can win a championship unless we make a big move of some sort. Yeah, the problem is, I mean, what's that move? And you could say that all you want, but how do you just make a move that's big to do it? Like, I mean, you have to actually have it available, and the other team has to want what you want. I don't see why either team would do that, Zexus. Simmons, Tori and I have talked about this a lot. There is a horrible fit with Dame. Much like we talked about with Westbrook and Harden. You don't want a guy who can't shoot to play with a guy like Dame because, when he controls the ball, he can get Dame some good shots sometimes. But when the opposite happens, like Dame, the spacing on the floor would be terrible when Dame has the ball, and you don't want him to completely have the ball taken out of his hands. But yeah, a lot of people have the same ideas. Shervin, do you live in the Portland area? Or Oregon? Or where do you live? So you're not in the danger zone of the fires? Or you're in Cali, so are you near a lot of fires right now? If you are, stay safe, man. Yeah, can't win with 2 small guards, right? See, I don't know. I think that's so overblown because if we had Ariza, Collins, and Nurk as our starting front court next year, I feel like our defense would be fine, even with Stott's crappy scheme. So, yeah, I feel like there's not a lot of big moves to make. I still want to see Dame and CJ in a more an offense designed to not make them work so hard every freaking time to get a good shot. Um, yeah, so Thomas Ransky says our net rating was good with Dame, CJ, Trent, Zach, and Nurk in the bubble. And that's exactly why I don't like just saying Colin sucks and where you should give up for him. But those people who say that, I feel like don't really understand his impact on defense and his ability to help our guards who are not terrific defenders to become a little better on defense. And yeah, he needs to fix his foul problems, but I mean that just takes minutes and experience. He only played 12 games this year. He needs time with the starters to learn how to play with them. So I wouldn't give up with him. Yeah, I did see some pictures of the stadium yesterday, Sherman. It's crazy. There's some pictures from just south of Salem too that looked similar to that, just like completely red in the middle of the day. It's crazy. But yeah, I think you can, if you have the right schemes, you can kind of hide Dame and CJ's defense. But if you do stuff like play mellow at the 3 and run a drop scheme and don't guard 3-point lines and don't have an aggressive defense, both with trapping and putting pressure on ball handlers, I feel like I just feel like it's never going to work that way. So if your defenders aren't good, you need more pressure and be aggressive. But we don't do that. We're less aggressive the worse defenders we have. So it's just the opposite of what we should be doing and why we're always struggling on defense. But yeah, Dame is definitely good at defense. But like I said earlier, the problem with that is he just he does not need to be guarding like a Jason Tatum on the other end. It's just not a good idea for a guy who has to score like 60 points for us to win some of these games to be like that, like use up that much energy on defense. Sure, Wheezy says, if other teams would just stop making shots, we would be a better team. Yeah, that's what we just leave them wide open and just like hope they miss shots. Yeah, Zach definitely needs to improve his butterfingers and his poor finishing, and he needs to stay healthy. That's right. Yep. Yeah, I did answer that, Nas. I don't have any control over that, so that'd be something to have to talk about with Tori. RIP Blazer says 2 bigs doesn't work for the modern era. We need a 4-wing. But Collins isn't like Whiteside. It's not like you're playing 2 centers. Collins can guard a little bit on the perimeter, and he can do things like Bogut and Draymond Green. Those guys weren't like modern. I mean, yeah, like they played Draymond at center sometimes, and he's undersized, but it's not like he's super athletic or super quick or anything. Like, it's more important to be smart defensively than to necessarily be quick and small. Like, you're seeing that with the Rockets. It's not necessarily better to go smaller. Is John Wall's contract the worst in the NBA? It's up there. It's really bad. It'll be interesting to see what he does this year. But yeah, I think a couple of guys might be worse if he comes back and is somewhat good again. But yeah, there's a lot of bad ones. I would probably say Batum, but he only has 1 year left on his deal now, so it's not quite as bad as it was. Wiggins is pretty bad too, I think. All right. So Alex Wolf, I'm going to try to find your, or did I see your comment about a love trade? Yeah, I saw that. since it didn't involve the Blazers, I guess I can talk about that here. But can you put it again? Uh, Looking at it or remembering what it was, I don't see Kevin Love going to or working with Embiid. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's one of the worst fits I can think of, especially with Horford there. I don't remember if he was part of that trade or not. But yeah, I don't like Love going to Philadelphia. AJ World says, I wish players would take cuts. Seems like pay cuts. It seems like they care more about money than winning. Well, in the NBA, you have limited salaries, so you can only make your first 4 years. You can only be on your rookie deal if you're a first round pick, and then you're limited on what the max contract you can sign. You're limited by how much cap space people have and stuff like that. So I completely disagree with that. You have to get paid when you can. You have a short lifespan as an athlete. Yeah, a guy like Dame could say like, "Oh, I'll only take $30 million instead of $35 this year or whatever." But does that, like, even if he took $20 million this year instead of 30, we're not anywhere near being under the cap, so it doesn't even matter. So like, I would never blame a player for taking the money or whatever. I do think that the NBA should have a rule that all max contracts count towards the cap equally. So teams that sign a max player like 2 years before another team that signs them when the cap is higher, or teams like the Blazers don't get penalized for having a player as good as Dame and keeping them on a supermax instead of them wanting to leave elsewhere, but then kind of screwing the cap situation in the future. So it'd be nice if you could reward a player like Dame with a supermax, or like Milwaukee with Giannis with a supermax, but also not have it be detrimental to your cap space moving forward. Cavs get Horford, Thibault, and a protected first that would turn into 3 seconds if not conveyed. Did you post above? What? Hi, Cora. Hi, Mom. Hi, Flynn, if you're listening to. My youngest 2 kids are at my mom's house, and she just signed on. I don't see the other part of that trade, Alex. So Zexus says, I'd rather have a shooting guard who moves around the court to find an open look and defends. As far as moving around to find the open looks, that's just not our offense. So that's why I want a better structured offense to where we do have people that move around and cut to the basket. Because we've seen that be super effective and it works every time we do it. Yet when our offense is struggling, we still resort back to ISO ball and pick and roll and never really move the ball that much and don't have cutters to the basket and stuff. Love and Jetty Osman for, who was it, Horford. Yeah, I don't really see either team liking that trade. To me, you're just basically trading Osman for Thibault and then 2 bad contracts with Horford and Love. Seems like one of those trades just to make a trade. Let's sign Evan Turner. Actually, I mean, for a minimum contract guy, he wouldn't be bad. Excuse me. Sorry if that was loud. Nas, I didn't really like any of those Pelicans trades you posted. I don't know why either team would do them. CJ for Cam Reddish, yeah. No. That would make us really bad. Pick up Rondé Hollis Jefferson. No. I hate wings that can't shoot. Like, we need 3 and D, not just D. And you see, like, Hollis Jefferson's having trouble getting on the court in these games. But yeah, you have, potentially Hood, you have Ariza, you have Little. I'd much rather just give minutes to Little. I mean, I think he's capable of being just as good a defender and much better offensively, and he's younger and more athletic, so I'd rather just develop Hood than develop Little than pick up a guy like Rondé Hollis Jefferson and do that route. Sacramento's Bogdanovich is the answer to 3. Well, one, he's not a great defender, so I don't know if he's necessarily the answer, but 2, he's way out of our price range this summer, so there's not really a path to getting him. I know Dame and him are friends or like each other, so I'm sure Dame would like that. There's just not really an easy way to get him this summer. What's Buddy Hield's trade value? I think it's decent. It's not like gonna bring you a superstar back or whatever, but I think he's got some fairly good value. Maybe even like, I don't know, if they like Kuzma, I mean, I could see the Lakers trading for a guy like Buddy Hield. He'd kill in a lineup like with LeBron and AD, and then you have Buddy Hield in like KCP's spot, like getting those open threes. I think that would make sense if Sacramento liked Kyle Kuzma, but hopefully no one likes Kyle Kuzma because he is not that good of a player. Which East team can give the West champ a run for their money? I think Toronto could give the Clippers trouble because they have the wings that could defend. I know Zexus was talking about trading for OG. I'd love that a lot. OG would be excellent on this team, but there's no way Toronto's trading him or Siakam. So, but they have the type of team that could slow down Paul George and Kawhi a little bit. Also be a fun story having Kawhi versus Toronto in the finals. Against the Lakers, I'd probably say the Heat probably have the best chance against the Lakers. So yeah, it just kind of depends on who. Nas can't play the 3. What do you mean? Or you're talking about Bogdanovich, right? Okay. You confused me. I thought you were talking about Nas there, but what's up, Alvaro? Yeah, Tori had some issues with the smoke, and didn't want to stream or be in his room, so I took over. I was going to do a short stream, but I don't know how long we've been going. Almost 2 hours. Yeah, I'm probably going to sign off soon. Cam Reddish could be a pretty good player. He actually, the last 20 to 25 games of the season, he was putting up some decent numbers. He's one of those guys who has to develop a three-point shot. If he can, though, I mean, he's a solid defender. He can play make a little bit. Thought he was a little overrated coming out of college, but he's definitely got the body type and skill set if he develops an outside shot to become a really good wing in the league. Yeah, Nas is 6'6" with like a 7'4" wingspan or something like that. So even though he's a little smaller, he can play either the 3 or the 4 most likely. Yeah, Alvaro, we talked about that at the top of the show. Fires, man, they're insane. Luckily, I've only had to deal with like smoke and stuff so far, but yeah. Chris Zhang says, is there any chance we can get Kelly Olynyk? I actually think there is a chance if you're willing to give up Ariza for him. It was rumored that Miami wanted Ariza at the trade deadline, so or around the time that we traded for him from Sacramento. So I think if we really wanted to trade Ariza for Olynyk, we could do that. I just don't know if that's the right decision moving forward, especially if we kept Melo and Whiteside. No really reason to have Olynyk, and we need more of a 3. And I'm still excited to see the defensive front court. Who do I think? Okay, so Shervin and Tori made a DK Metcalf bet last stream that it was at 1,150 yards. I'm going to take the under because when was the last time? How many yards did Lockett have last year? I'm guessing there hasn't been a lot of receivers in that offense that have had more than 1,100 yards. Maybe Baldwin one of the years, but yeah, I don't think that offense is designed to have a player, and Metcalf definitely needs to improve more than just being a home run threat, more as like a possessional receiver as well. So I would lean towards Torrey winning that bet. Would I fire Elton Brand if I own the Sixers? Probably not, just because like I don't feel like he's only been there for 2 years. And he kind of inherited a situation where Colangelo kind of ruined things. I saw something today where so yeah, Baldwin had 1130 in 1 year. But yeah, so that goes to my point that not many players have that many yards. But I saw something that if the 76ers just didn't trade for Jimmy Butler and kept everything somewhat neutral, didn't make a lot of moves, what their lineup would be today. And it was crazy how good they could have been had they not traded everyone. Yeah, was that right at the beginning of Brand, or did he take over shortly after that? I can't remember exactly. No, Thomas Ramsey, I'm saying if they never made the trade for Jimmy Butler. So if they just, or Tobias Harris, and kept like Shamet and Covington and J.J. Redick and Markelle Fultz and Dario Saric and I'm missing a bunch of other people, but yeah, they could have had Mikal Bridges, or they could have drafted like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's just that team would have been like 15. Yeah, Jeremy Grant. They would have been like 15 deep. Still have like J.J. McConnell as like their third string point guard. Yeah, Hinkie turned out to be a little crazy, their GM, with the trust the process stuff. But yeah, I definitely thought he deserved a shot to see it through. You can't make the decision that you are going to sacrifice several years to try and be good in the future, and then can the guy when he's not good for those few years. Like, you have to, if you commit to that plan, you have to see it through. And there was no reason to believe that he wouldn't be able to see that through, and the NBA kind of panicked and put in Colangelo there to oversee stuff, and then he ended up firing Hinkie and then giving control to his son, and that turned out to be bad. But yeah, I wish they could have just left the process be and seen what happened with that. Yeah, they could have drafted Tatum too. That would be such a sick front court, Simmons, Tatum, and Embiid. Like, how would you defend that if you ran it right? Yeah, sure, and that's where you're going to lose me trying to compare DK to Calvin Johnson. He doesn't have the hands Calvin Johnson had. DK's not. But yeah, he definitely had a good rookie year. I mean, there's lots of players with that body type. Alex Wolf thought the Wolves were crazy for taking Cat over Okafor. Yeah, that's funny. Which LaMelo article? I've read a bunch lately, so I'm having trouble remembering what the one you sent me is, Nas. Yeah, Thomas Zaransky. So the rumor was that we had a trade in place for Jahlil Okafor and with Philly, and they were kind of playing hardball, wanting more. And then, so we were like, fine, well, we'll just look elsewhere. And then the Nurkic trade became available. And I don't know if we actually went back to Philly and said, here's the deal we're getting. But I'm pretty sure they were like, okay, so for Plumlee and a second-round pick, we can get Nurkic in a first. So you either give us Okafor for Plumlee in a second or not. I think Philly was holding out for a first-round pick at the time. But yeah, I'm definitely glad we got Nurk. Yeah, I mean, I don't know really what to say about it now. It's like, so the guy likes to take risks, and they might take LaMelo. Yeah. Like I said, I think that would be incredibly stupid by the Wolves to take him. And I don't think he's going to be a good player, but yeah. Do I think Beal will finish his prime in Washington? That is a tough question. Yeah, I don't think he'll finish his career in Washington. What I think will happen is Wall will come back. Those players will realize, or the team will realize that those two aren't great together. They're better separate. And they'll move one of them. And they'll try to move John Wall, but they won't be able to. So they'll have to trade Beal, and they'll get a lot for him. But yeah. All right, good night, Nos. Nice talking with you. Have a great one. Stay safe. Yeah, I'm going to wrap things up here in a minute as well. Didn't mean to go for 2 hours tonight, but LeVar Ball is the best salesman. I agree. Yeah, it is one skill he is elite at. Yeah, Alex Wolf in our mock offseason, Thomas Aransky here in chat traded for Bradley Beal, and yeah, he's got a pretty insane team because he re-signed Plumlee, Millsap, and Jeremy Grant as well. But yeah, it's a pretty good move for Denver there. I can definitely see them making a splash with all their young guys, and they've been trying to make a big trade for several years. They tried to get Dwayne Wade a few years ago. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you got Mikal Bridges, too. Yep, he's got a pretty good roster there. It's super expensive, but it's a good roster. Trevin's talking about his team. He's got Dame, CJ, Covington, Zach, Nurk, Devontae Graham, DeLon Wright, Rodney Hood, Maurice Harkless, and Hassan Whiteside. So he got... Let's see, he got the 10th pick and Mikal Bridges for Michael Porter Jr. And then he traded the 10th pick, a 2022 unprotected, and then Gary Harris and Will Barton, I think. So yeah, Gary Harris, Will Barton, and 2 firsts, basically, for Beal. I think it was a pretty good trade. I like that trade a lot, Thomas Ramsey, so I wouldn't judge you for that. You traded 10, 23, and a future first, so 3 firsts. Yeah. I still think that was a good trade. You tried to trade Murray, though. Are you glad you didn't trade Jamal Murray now? Bagley's ceiling is dude, Shervin. All right. We talked about DK Metcalf for a while. Let's move on, man. But Bagley's ceiling, I still think he can be a really good player. He's one of those guys we talked about earlier that lottery picks that haven't worked out that I would take a risk on if he became available. But like Collins, he just can't seem to stay healthy long enough to get experience to prove what he can do. But yeah, probably not the smartest player defensively, which will hurt him in the long run being a big man. But I really like his offensive skills a lot. Yeah, Barton is one of those guys that got traded like 8 times. That was fun. I wish we could pick that back up and move on to further seasons, because I'd like to see what happens with my team. I was the Hornets, and I ended up trading up and getting the 1st and 3rd picks, and I have Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman, and then I also got a later pick, and I got R.J. Hampton. But yeah, kind of like to see where that went. My big signing was Wenyen Gabriel. Oh, I got Anthony Simons too, yeah, and Wenyen Gabriel, and yeah, just going super young. I traded for oh man, I'm blanking on his name. Who's the center I traded for? Well, I have Reddick. No, I don't have Horford anymore. I traded him. No, the center from the Pacers that was a rookie last year. Oh, Goga Batadze or whatever. Yeah. Goga is like my backup center. But yeah, I wish we could continue that and see what happens in future seasons. I have like a ton of future picks too. Do you think Boston would try to consolidate their picks? I think they've been trying to do that the last few drafts. There just isn't a lot of teams that value late first over picking like the top 10. So, I mean, you saw the Blazers traded 15 to 20 and only got up to 10 the year of the Zach Collins draft. So, yeah, Leo has Valanciunas now. So yeah, it's hard. They should try to trade up, and for their sake, if they could trade up, if they could somehow get into the Kongwu or Obi Toppin range, dang man, that would be scary. Or like even if they pulled off somehow getting Wiseman or something on that team, if they got one of those three guys, that would be insane. But other than those three, I mean, they're set at wing, they're set at point guard. Other than those three, there's not a lot of bigs that make sense trading up for. So you could probably just wait and hope like a Poku or even like a Precious falls to them. So yeah, I don't really see them trading up unless it's to one of the teams. If like a Congo or Toppin falls to like 8 to 10 range. Do I think Romeo Langford will be a bust? Yeah, I don't know if he'll be a full-on bust, but I did not like that pick at all for them last year, especially with. Can you imagine if they took Brandon Clark there and had him on their front court this year? It's kind of like a younger, better Tice. I mean, Tice has played well for them this year, but Brandon Clark would have been a tremendous fit on that team, I think. There was someone else that I thought they should have taken over him at the time. I can't really remember how the rest of that draft went out, other than once we get into the 20s, I remember Brandon Clark and Baisley and Phoenix trading ahead of us to get who was that, Jerome Lane or something, and Nas falling to us, which was awesome. Alex Wolf says Memphis will be a dynasty. Yeah, I'm not wanting to go there quite yet. They definitely have a good start on getting there, but they still need to make smarter moves than what they did during the season this year, I think. Remember when people said Denver would be a dynasty? Well, they're still pretty young, so I don't think you can say. I mean, their two stars are in their mid-20s. I don't think you can say that they won't become a dynasty yet. So, I also saw this thing in regards to Giannis. It basically listed all the stars like LeBron, Michael Jordan, those kind of players. And they all, it was later in their career, like 28 or so before they started winning titles. And, you know, Giannis is in that 25, 26, I think, range. So, like, if you completely write him off as not being able to ever win a title, like you'd be basically saying the same about LeBron and Michael Jordan at those ages too. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to him to completely discredit everything he's done in Milwaukee. Do I think Memphis re-signs Josh Jackson? It's a tough one. I don't see there being a huge market for him. But yeah, he might be back with them. I know they liked what he gave them this year. Yeah, LeBron had a worse front office too, especially in Cleveland. Memphis is moving on from Josh Jackson. Yeah, I didn't see any news on that, but you could be right. Grayson Allen turning into Gary Trent Jr. No, man. No. Yeah, Grayson Allen, I mean, he'll never be anything more than, at best, like a ninth guy in a rotation. Yeah, Shervin, the reason why it's easier to finesse the cap in the NFL than the NBA is because a lot of the contracts in the NBA in the NFL aren't guaranteed, and almost all of them are guaranteed in the NBA. So it's a lot easier to be able to cut someone when they suck, or you sign them to way too much money and get that cap space to sign someone else versus like signing an Evan Turner and then being stuck with him for 4 years because you overpaid for him, but you can't cut him or whatever. If it was the NFL, you could cut him after a year, and he might count like a couple million towards the cap after that. But for the most part, it wouldn't. So, yeah, the Rams are in a lot of trouble over the next few years. They paid all their guys big money. They're gonna just basically have minimal contracts to round out the roster. Tampa Bay will go 15-1. I will bet you. We'll add that to the bet list on Discord, Alex, if you want to, that they will not win more than, I'll even go down to like 13 games. They will not win 13 or more games if you want to bet on that. I got to get on in this action because Tori made a bet. Now I need to make one. AJ World says ninth. He played really good in the bubble when he got playing time. He played okay. I mean, he's an okay scorer. I don't really like him defensively. But I feel like he can shoot if he's open. I don't really like him handling the ball a lot. Yeah. Am I buying into the Cardinals hype? I think the Cardinals would be okay. The problem is they're not as good as the Seahawks or the 49ers. So even if they're going to be good, it's going to be hard for them to be good. Blatant tanking. Yeah, they give up on Fournette. Yeah, I watched the Chiefs-Texans game. Chiefs dominated, but that was pretty much to be expected. Yeah. I feel bad for Deshaun Watson, man. His offensive line sucks. And they got rid of his best receiver. I don't know, Random. I don't know. If he still has his job now, I don't know if he ever will be fired. For some reason, he's got some sort of dirt on the owners or something. But at the same time, I mean, he makes the playoffs almost every year too, so it's hard to say he's doing a horrible job. But yeah, not a good team today. And he definitely shouldn't be the GM. It's always weird seeing teams like Shervin mentioned the Seahawks not having a good offensive line for a while. Like teams that just year after year don't address it. And I know they traded for Laramie Tunsil last offseason, and they gave up a ton for him, and then they paid him big time. But he was. I think they showed the stat tonight that he was like 23rd out of 39 rated offensive linemen or offensive left tackles last year. So like he doesn't deserve as much as they gave up to get him, or how much they paid him contract wise. So. Do dumb stuff like that, and it's hard to field the team, and then you lose DeAndre Hopkins because you're paying an average left tackle way too much money. But yeah, they gave away Clowney for like a 3rd-round pick or something crazy like that. It doesn't make sense. You want Isaac Bonga, Tom Sorinsky? Yeah, I remember what happened to him on draft night. Alright, guys. I go to bed for, I gotta get up and work in the morning. Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on Bonga. I'm not sure how available he will be this summer. I'm sure, is he on Washington right now? I'm sure they'll pick up his, I'm sure they're going to his contract, but, yeah, I don't know how to get him. Yeah, if Washington wanted to give us like a Bonga and a Mo Wagner, that'd be great. My pick for MVP in the NFL this year is Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Jesus is going to win MVP. Nah, just kidding. It's going to be Mahomes. As long as as long as Mahomes doesn't get hurt like last year for a few games, it's going to be him. I think it's good. I can't be that much of a Homer Sherman. I was just joking. But yeah, I think it'll be Mahomes. It's hard for anyone to compete with what he does. I do think people are sleeping on Jimmy G a little bit, just because, like especially in the NFL, it usually takes, unless your name's Adrian Peterson, a year to get back to normal once you have an ACL injury, and so I think Jimmy G will be a little more mobile and a little better this year than he was last year, and you won't have to like rely on the running game as much as it is. So, but the problem is we're relying on a second year and rookie receiver, and then some kind of secondary receivers that aren't really starter material. So, but yeah, definitely Mahomes for MVP. The Chiefs are going to be so hard to beat. Their defense played good tonight too. They had a couple. I think their rookie corner played really well tonight. So, yeah. Let's see. Dak. Do you think Dak has a shot at MVP? I mean, he has a shot. Yeah. I just don't think they need passing as much to warrant him winning an MVP, and I don't think their record is going to be good enough. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, when you have that, like a running back like Zeke and a decent offensive line, you tend to run the ball a lot, so I don't know how much passing they'll need to do, but he does have a great receiver core. They're kind of banged up too, though, so we'll see. But yeah, if he's ever going to have a MVP type season, it's going to be this year. But it was so weird seeing NFL on tonight. Almost didn't feel like it was real. Plus, like, not having not having a preseason or anything. It just starts. I don't know how well that made the gameplay tonight, but yeah, Chiefs. If the Chiefs stay healthy, I don't know how anyone beats them. Even if you get them down, they're so. Now they have Edwards-Helaire too, who had a great game. Man, how do you stop that offense? There's so many things they can do. They have a good tight end. They have good receivers. They have quality running back now. Mahomes can magically get out of pressure situations. So even if you do pressure him, he can wiggle his way out of it. He doesn't get sacked a whole lot. And then, yeah, you have all this like speedsters who can run around while he's scrambling and then get open downfield. And then on defense, yeah, their pass rush was good. I don't know how much of that was their pass rush versus the Texans' offensive line, but yeah. The Chiefs do not still have Shady. He signed with Tampa Bay, actually. But then they signed Fournette, too, so I don't know how much Shady's going to play. They have they have the rookie from LSU, Edwards-Helaire, as their starting running back. And then their backup running back is Darrell Williams, who played pretty good tonight, too. And then their starting running back from last year, Damian Williams, opted out for COVID. So he's not with the team this year. But, yeah, I don't think they need him. He's going to go from being their starting running back to probably not on the team when he comes back. But I didn't see, Alex, did you agree to a bet, or do you not bet? Are you not a gambling man? I might even go down to 12 wins. If they win 12 or more, you win. If they win 12 or less, or 11 or less, I win. Just don't pull a people's mix. I'll bet a candy necklace. That's funny. So you'll send me a candy necklace if I win, or does the loser get the candy necklace? Do I know what Hawk Hater TV is? No, I don't think so. He's the biggest Niner fan. Yeah, Bills might be pretty good. I just don't. Until Josh Allen proves he can throw the ball, I don't really trust them overall making a deep run. But he's got a deep threat now with Stephon Diggs, so we'll see. Yeah, it sounds a little over the top. No, Alex, he's not made his rap yet. He's living in a situation where he can't really record a rap song, so as soon as he gets his own place and moves out, he has promised to deliver on that. So just got to give him some time to develop a working history, so the place he can get will actually rent to him, and then he'll be able to set up like a studio type room in his place and have that for recording streams and videos and all that kind of stuff. Name my top 5 QBs. You mean like all time or like this season in the NFL? What if Torrey got signed by the Wiz? So obviously right now you got to go Mahomes 1. I'd probably go Russell Wilson 2. No, I put him 2. That's not questionable, right? That's right on so far, right? I don't know if Rodgers is still up there. He's probably him, Breeze, and Brady have definitely slipped a little bit. I know I'm forgetting someone. I don't think I put Lamar Jackson 3. I probably put Deshaun Watson up there now. I'd take him over Lamar Jackson probably. Not that I have any problem with Lamar Jackson. I just prefer a little bit more traditional, durable types. But yeah, Watson's good, so I put him up there. Baker Mayfield. No, I'm not. So I put Watson 3. Yeah, I still think Aaron Rodgers is pretty good. They just haven't had a healthy enough offensive line, and they, other than Devontae Adams, they haven't really given him a lot of weapons at receiver. So, yeah. Trevin has no idea what we're talking about. I wouldn't put Big Ben. I put Rodgers over Big Ben still. Yeah. I know I'm probably forgetting someone else big, but does it piss me off that the Seahawks have had trash to mediocre rosters over the past 4 years and Russ carries them to a winning record every year? No, I mean, I don't. It doesn't bother me. Like, I think it's a good rivalry, the Seahawks and 49ers, so I'm not gonna talk crap. I hated Richard Sherman when he talked crap after that game. But now he's a 49er, so I have to like him. But other than some times in the Super Bowl, he played really well last year. But yeah. Yeah. That post-game or interview was just ridiculous after the NFC title game that year. Yeah, Aaron Andrews is like, what? Yeah, it probably is a top 3 roster now, Shervin, but going into last year, no one was thinking that. They just have a really good coach with really good game plans, except for when he gets too conservative in the Super Bowl. But yeah, I'm not bitter about that at all, right, guys? Ugh. It seems so long ago. It's what, a little over 7 months ago. Sitting there, third quarter, thinking my team was going to win a Super Bowl, and then they crapped the bed. Fourth quarter. So frustrating. But yeah, I do like Shanahan. I think he's the right guy for the job. I really like what Lynch has done too, so I'm glad those two are on the same page. Have a good relationship. Yeah, but Jimmy couldn't hit he had Emmanuel Sanders wide open on that deep pass late in the game. That would have probably won it for the Niners. But unlike Mahomes, he couldn't get it done. But the problem is when you game plan to try and avoid passing like they did previous weeks in the playoffs, it's tough to then say, hey, you have to do something now and win this game. So yeah, I don't necessarily blame Jimmy G, but yeah, it's tough when you're not counted on to do that kind of stuff, and then in the biggest moment of your career, you have to throw a pinpoint pass down the field. Also, yes, Kittle did push off a little bit on that pass interference call. That also would have changed the game. But we saw a couple weeks earlier where Rudolph from Minnesota pushed way worse at the end of that game, and it wasn't called, and the touchdown was upheld. So yeah, it's a little frustrating, but yeah, the defense definitely got tired in that game. They couldn't get any kind of pass rush in the second half. My heart rate was okay in week 17 last year because, I mean, yeah, obviously I wanted the number 1 seed, but also, I mean, it wasn't like if we lost, we're out of the playoffs like the Blazers Brooklyn game a few weeks ago where if Karis LeVert makes that shot, the Blazer season's over, you know, so, but yeah, it was a crazy finish to have a tackle at the goal line with so much on the line in week 17. Yeah, obviously I was going crazy, but the 49ers have been to 7 Super Bowls. They won their first 5, but have lost their last 2. And all 7 have been in my lifetime. But they haven't won since 94, so it's been a while. Yeah, but I mean, the last time the 49ers won, I was 15. Or no, I was only 14 because it was in February. So yeah, I was 14. So I feel like I didn't appreciate it as much as I would a Super Bowl victory now. But yeah, it's been a long time. And then yeah, the Blazers won 2 years before I was born. They made, obviously, the finals in 90 and 92, which is great. But they lost both of those. And then the 49ers have lost the 2 since. And my baseball team's the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously not. Lagged for a second. What? It just said my software disconnected for a second, but I think I'm back. But yeah, Blazer championship would mean by far the most. 49ers second, Reds like a distant third. They won a title in 1990, which I was 11 years old for. So once again, not super hardcore like I am now. But yeah. Yeah, Westbrook's playoff record post KD is very bad. But yeah, I just want to see the Blazers win a title one time. I went to Oregon State, and we the 2000 season we went to the Fiesta Bowl and went down to that game in Arizona, and they kicked the crap out of Notre Dame. That was really awesome. But it was before the playoffs, so they finished like 4th in the final standings, didn't have a chance to win the title, even though their one loss was to Washington on a last-second field goal. And that was the year where like Oregon, Washington, and Oregon State all lost like one game to each other. And then no, man, I don't hate Uncle Phil. I mean, I love Nike as a company, so yeah, I can't say that. But he definitely helps them recruit, so I don't. But I mean, I'm not bitter about it. You do your own thing. Just worry about what my team does. If I'm Philly. Actually, if I'm any team, I am taking Atkinson out of those 3 simply because out of all those teams, he's the only guy who uh, didn't really get. I mean, I guess Tyler Lue didn't get a fair shot either, but I mean, come on, like what? I don't know what he did, but Atkinson wasn't doing bad with the Nets when he got fired. I mean, it wasn't his fault that KD and Kyrie are both hurt this year and that they basically put all their eggs into that basket. They weren't supposed to do anything this year with both of those guys, or with Durant for sure being out the whole year. So I don't know why he got fired, other than, Kyrie and KD didn't like him, so I would definitely give him another chance. But overall, I don't like any of those three. I'd much rather just hire someone who has no experience than any of those three. Yeah, getting Trent Williams could be huge for the Niners. Kevin Love says Ty Lue is a great playoff coach in terms of X's and O's. That may be true. It's hard to know with him because, like I said, you don't know how much of their success was Ty Lue and how much was just having LeBron and stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't. If I was a coach or a GM, I would not want Kyrie on my team. Do I laugh at the Seahawks passion? Dude, I'm not that obsessed. Like, you act like I'm just obsessing over the Seahawks 24/7. I don't really care. Like, this should be a good race in the division. I'm hoping the Niners can pull it out. But, yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun streaming with you guys. I just want to thank Tori for letting me stream tonight, even though he didn't want to or wasn't able to stream. I appreciate you, man. And thank you for all the opportunities to do for me on this channel. And if you haven't checked out my trade video, go check it out at some point. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on that. Trying to get better, but I hadn't done a video in a long time. But now that we're going to do weekly videos, I feel like I could maybe be a little better on those. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that. Me crapping on every trade idea. I felt like. But yeah, it's been fun chatting with you guys. What's up, Sanji? We're just about to sign off. But yeah, thank you everyone who's stuck around to this point and for supporting Blazers Uprise and all that stuff. And just want to repeat what I said earlier. If any of you ever need someone to talk to, hit me up. I'm available anytime. And yeah. Said I don't like that trade 1,000 times. The video. Yeah, I know. But like, do you blame me, Trevin? Did you like most of them or any of them? Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's only as good as the suggestions that I'm given. So if they're all crap, I don't. Yeah, Mario's. I did say I gave that one a thumbs up, Trevin. Thomas Aransky's mega trade wasn't horrible, I guess, but CJ for LaMarcus, that's funny. But yeah, anyways, this has been fun, and hope you guys all have a good night. Stay safe wherever you are. Stay out of the fire. Yeah. If anyone needs anything too, like I can't really provide a place to stay, but I can try to help you arrange something if anyone needs something. Don't feel like you have to be homeless or whatever right now, so just hit me up if you need anything. But anyways, you guys all have a good night. Stay safe. For Blazers Uprise, it's been fun. Peace out. Go Blazers.